Pop music and entrepreneur billionaire Sean John Love Puff Daddy P. Diddy Combs is on trial for federal charges including sex trafficking, racketeering, and coercion. After the Department of Homeland Security raided his homes, investigators began uncovering what seems to be a deeply coordinated pattern of abuse, especially after this surveillance footage was released showing his disturbing and incriminating behavior.
Savage! I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get!
So we're gonna break down the psychology along with body language of Diddy's mentorship to groom and manipulate young, vulnerable stars like Justin Bieber. Now, let's get started.
So, yo, when we gonna get the chance to, to kick it, like, we can just hang out? And he was like, yo, why don't we, like, go shopping? I mean, like, I pay for it. And I was like, this just saying.
You asked him to take him shopping?
Yeah. I thought he needed some clothes. I don't never hit him with no, nothing. I don't even think of no other man.
Truly is about the Benjamin, as we see.
Oh yes, he's literally.
It truly is about the Benjamin.
In psychology, sex is not always about attraction. It can also be about control, manipulation, dominance, and status. Since it appears Diddy engaged in sexual activity with people of all genders and filmed it without their consent, that seems to point to a deeply psychological need for power. Therefore, it becomes less about intimacy and more about feeling he owns the other person.
Drake. Oprah. J-Lo.
As we see here when Diddy ominously and curiously started naming famous people's names on social media, with no context, making us all wonder if those are the famous people he will take down if he gets convicted.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called Freakoffs, and he often electronically recorded them. The Freakoffs sometimes lasted days at a time.
Hear about my party, they're gonna be shutting them down, they're gonna probably be arresting me.
Baby oil, more than 1,000 bottles altogether.
For Diddy, it seems that sex is about weaponizing intimacy through blackmail, which aligns closely with psychopathic behavior. Psychopathy, from a clinical standpoint, isn't just about violence, like we often hear in discussions about serial killers. It's about a lack of empathy and willingness to exploit and manipulate others for personal gain. A common misconception is that psychopaths are emotionally cold and socially awkward. But that's not true at all.
First, I didn't like him at all. We developed this bond.
She's one of the most beautiful people in the world, and I'm a pretty nice guy myself.
I'm not afraid of clowns.
But I heard that you were. Are you in love now?
Yeah, I'm in love now.
What is it about her?
It's just like when a record comes on, the way she moves.
Yeah.
Like when I look at her, the way she smiles. The way I see her look at me sometimes when I wake up and she's already awake,
In fact, they're often highly charismatic and charming.
You were honored in New York.
Yes.
With the key to the city.
You're an example to boys, your boys, my boys, their boys.
Very important that African-American males get to see something positive.
This is because they learn that charm is one of the most effective weapons for gaining trust and then exploiting that trust through manipulation.
I decided that I'm just gonna go with the name Diddy.
Didn't you change it to Love officially?
See, Diddy's my nickname.
Uh-huh.
Love is my real name.
Diddy has changed his name many times throughout the years, from Puff Daddy to P. Diddy to just Diddy, and even more recently, curiously telling people to call him Love.
You can call me Love.
The word love and keep it for yourself. I mean,
I am love. This is love.
While on the surface it may seem like harmless rebranding, frequent identity shifts like this can reflect a grandiose or unstable sense of self to control the public's perception and manage his image when he faces public backlash.
After the nightclub shooting, when he was acquitted, he went into PR overdrive.
Who said we had to have one name?
He rebranded himself as P. Diddy.
He wanted to put a clear divider between who he was and where he's going.
Every time serious allegations or damaging stories come out, he conveniently seems to rebrand himself with a new name, as if shedding the old one erases the past.
Puff wanted to get rid of this image of him as a thug.
He's changing his name.
It's a strategic way to throw people off, to make the public feel like he's a different person now, who has evolved and become harmless or even lovable.
I'm love! I'm love!
In reality, it's about controlling his public perception, rewriting the narrative, and distancing himself from his dirt before the public can fully hold him accountable. Before there was Justin Bieber, there was Usher Raymond.
We used to wake up and
I mean, damn, pause, but like, check this out. I mean, back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flake.
Diddy didn't just mentor Usher.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs.
Sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp, and you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
in the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
What's one misconception about you?
There are no misconceptions about me.
Jodeci, Mary J. Blige, they didn't know nothing about this shit.
At that young age, he was living with Diddy, apparently exposed to adult parties, nightclubs, and highly sexualized environments. You may have noticed Usher smiling and chuckling while recalling his teenage years living with Diddy.
You were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at.
But that doesn't necessarily reflect genuine amusement, but rather a psychological defense mechanism to mask discomfort or confusion about what he experienced when he was younger.
It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand.
This kind of reaction can indicate emotional distancing or an attempt to downplay inappropriate or traumatic memories that are difficult to process publicly.
I feel like I was for sure drugged. I feel like the drinks were spiked.
Also, Diddy wanting Usher to live with him indicates he apparently wants control over him and may have been attempting to isolate him from healthier adult influences.
And I'm telling him, look, you're going to put me in the studio, man. I'm not here to party with you. I don't want to go to the clubs. Matter of fact, I'm too young to even be in here. Why you got me in clubs? Matter of fact, I'm too young to even be in here. Why you got me in clubs?
In psychology, this aligns with patterns of grooming and dominance, where a powerful figure places a young person in an environment they fully control.
I had legal guardianship of Usher.
Placing Usher in his home at such a young age may have been a calculated move to gain unchecked access and avoid scrutiny.
You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
By controlling the environment, routines, and relationships around Usher, Diddy could more easily manipulate Usher's perception of what was normal or acceptable.
Usher!
Children and adolescents are in a critical stage of brain development, especially in the prefrontal cortex. It's the part of the brain responsible for impulse control, decision-making, judgment, and understanding consequences. This region isn't fully developed until a person is in their mid-20s. When a child is surrounded by that kind of adult behavior and energy, they simply cannot process it the way an adult can. Instead, it sadly leads to what we call in psychology as accelerated sexualization. This is where they start to internalize, distort ideas about sex, intimacy, relationships, and their self-worth, forcing them into adult roles and expectations long before they're cognitively or emotionally ready to be in those roles.
What do you do to make just an amazing killer party? We need alcohols. We need locks on the doors. Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
Over time, this creates emotional dysregulation where the child struggles to control their feelings and reactions and can develop serious issues with attachment, trust, identity, and boundaries. And that's just one part of the damage, because there's also alcohol and drugs.
Everybody was sipping on the Puffy juice. That makes me feel very used, abused. It makes me feel only a monster can do this.
For an adult, those substances may just be a bad habit, but for a child, it's a neurological disaster. In a young brain, they interfere with the development of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which are the chemicals that regulate motivation, mood, and emotional stability. That means instead of learning how to regulate their emotions, manage stress, or develop healthy coping skills, the child may depend on those substances to get through the chaos they are experiencing. And the damage isn't just emotional, it's physical too, because the substances can disrupt neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to form new, healthy neurological connections.
I think as a kid, I realized, hey, look, that's not my ring, that's not my moment, that's not my bottle, that's not my drink, that's not my celebration. So I'm not here to celebrate.
Therefore, while a person of that age should be learning emotional intelligence, self-esteem, and how to build safe relationships, they're instead being flooded with chemical shortcuts, and those substances can rewire their brain in harmful, irreversible ways. The end result is almost always the same: a deep sense of confusion, loss of identity, attachment wounds, and sadly, lifelong mental health struggles. That's the real cost of this type of celebrity mentorship.
And God one day told me, She was like, it's time.
God talks like Michael Jackson?
Things that go on in my head are so crazy.
Now watch this curious clip from 2009 when Justin Bieber was in Diddy's custody for 48 hours and see if you notice any mirroring behavior from Justin.
Yeah, so as soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come to LA, yeah.
Yes, first we immediately notice how much Justin seems to look up to Diddy. He's mirroring the way Diddy walks, how he talks, and even that exact face touch.
Yeah, so
this mirroring behavior is a subconscious way of seeking approval and feeling connected to a mentor figure. Then Diddy uses a desirable object, in this case a Lamborghini, to dangle a future reward for Justin, who at this point was just getting started in the music entertainment industry.
as soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come to LA, yeah. This gonna be yours. So every time you come to LA.
From a psychological perspective, it's about establishing control and creating a psychological dependency with Justin. When a powerful adult like Diddy dangles these expensive rewards, it sends a strong message to a young person that your success, your status, your material wealth depends on me.
Then when you get 18, you get the house. Get the mansion.
It's a form of what we call in psychology as instrumental conditioning. This is where behavior is shaped through rewards and punishment to increase their compliance. Therefore, Justin learns very quickly that pleasing Diddy leads to rewards. However, potentially defying Diddy and making him angry means losing those desirable rewards. Now see if you can catch Justin's curious body language and vocal here.
Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing.
Yes, as soon as Diddy says, "What we doing?" Justin gives off a fake smile and a very audible gasp. Let's watch that part again.
Where we hanging out and what we doing.
His nervous fake smile shows his bottom teeth at that very moment, which is very common of an eek expression when we feel uncomfortable. It's also important we don't jump to conclusions. This does not prove Diddy did the worst, but this appears to indicate there's something that Justin did, will do, or expecting to do with Diddy that he did not feel completely comfortable doing. It's almost as if part of him feels like he's being held hostage by Diddy. Justin is understandably excited to get a Lambo and a mansion. However, the other part of him seems to know what is required to get those things.
Felt uncomfortable and still feels uncomfortable.
Then Justin curiously moves to an apprehensive lip bite when Diddy says that he can't disclose what they're doing.
We can't really disclose, but
Again, it's important that we don't jump to conclusions here that Diddy did the worst, but Justin appears to feel uncomfortable at key moments around Diddy.
I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me, so, yeah.
Did you catch that? Watch that part again.
He's with me, so, yeah.
Yes, more fake smiles with eek expression showing his bottom teeth, indicating feeling uncomfortable and possibly scared, along with even more obvious audible gasps. Right after Diddy says,
he's with me, so,
Justin appears to be very conflicted being around Diddy here. He appears both excited to be mentored by Diddy and getting material possessions, but also appears to be keenly aware of the cost.
He's with me, so,
While we can't know for sure what was going on through Justin's mind, it's crucial to acknowledge the power dynamics and the potential for manipulation and coercion, which could have contributed to his visible unease. And then we have this odd and awkward clip a few years later of Justin seemingly ghosting Diddy.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, you know, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
This could have been done as a joke for the camera. However, jokes are at least based on partial truths.
His representatives told TMZ, quote, although Justin is not among Sean Combs' victims.
Although Justin appears to have denied that he's been a victim of Diddy, trauma doesn't always psychologically present in straightforward ways, especially when it involves power dynamics, grooming, or emotional manipulation. In fact, it's very common for young victims to defend their abuser or downplay what happened, even years later. In psychology, this is known as trauma bonding. When the person who caused them harm is also the person who gave them attention, gifts, protection, or career opportunities, their mind gets caught in a confusing cycle where they associate pain with care, abuse with love, and control with safety. Also, Justin being Diddy's victim could mean he's just not ready, willing, or able to confront what really occurred. Diddy has been accused of blackmail and has been known in the past to pay people off to keep them quiet.
Combs' driver accused Sean of allegedly offering him $50,000 to claim the weapon as his own.
Keep in mind too, Justin Bieber was on Diddy's ominous list.
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber. Justin's not focused on what is going on with Diddy or the allegations against him.
However, although Justin is not claiming to be a victim, he's also not publicly defending Diddy either, which says a lot too.
In 2014, the young star's behavior triggering multiple tabloid-filled run-ins with the law, including a DUI arrest.
In the years since Justin's rise to fame, he's struggled with drug abuse, depression, and financial instability, despite being one of the most commercially successful entertainment artists of his generation. Psychologically, those who were exploited or abused in exchange for money sometimes subconsciously try to get rid of that money as a way to distance themselves from the trauma.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
Justin has talked publicly about heavy drug use, emotional numbness, and periods where he felt completely lost.
I felt like I lost my purpose for a while.
It just got scary. I basically said to myself, oh my God, if you're real, you get me through this season of stopping these pills and stuff.
From a psychological perspective, these struggles often follow unresolved trauma, especially when the trauma occurs during a child's formative years. Now in the comments, what do you think of Diddy's curious relationship with Justin Bieber? Let everyone know in the comments below. Subscribe for more. As you can tell, we are officially back, have enough degrees for now, and it's time to go hard. It's time to make a lot of videos, so subscribe for many more videos to come. See you soon.